Becky, and tonight I wanted to do a little bit of catch up because I was away and sick and I didn't have a chance to do everything that I had planned with this month's Jesse James Beads Magical Mystery Bead Box. And actually, this was the June box, I think. The July box just showed up at my house and I haven't unboxed it yet because I want to do these projects first and get that done. But I had been wanting to do some projects with it, and then I was sick and then I didn't get to it, and now I want to get it done before I open up the new box. And so two of the projects that I had planned we're going to do tonight, and one of them is going to be a necklace with this sequined bead that has all of these like scaly fishy things. I'm going to make a necklace with that, with these shell beads, with these metal shell beads, and I'm going to be using some of the chain reaction that came with that in the necklace, and some SilverSilk. And this is SilverSilk from the collaboration, I believe. It was either from the collaboration or it's from the pop-up shop. I can't remember which, but it's this parelesque chain that has like this colored tinsel between the dark blue knitted wire and the silver ball chain inside of it. And so it makes it really pretty. So I'm going to be using all of those for the necklace. And then I wanted to use some 3-needle chain. I've got two different colors of it. I've got this teal color and then I've got this like baby blue color. And I'm going to use both of those. A couple of these guys. Is it enamel? I think this is enamel, right? These enamel they're almost like they're bead caps, but they're also maybe like end caps or something like that. But then we've got these sort of filigree metal beads, and then a couple of these, and I might see if I can use some of these small 3mm crystal beads on that. But this is going to be for some earrings, so I'm going to set those aside until we get to that part for the earrings, and I have some ear wires for that when we get around to it. But let's do our necklace first. I'm going to put away the box so that we're not using that. On the necklace, I am going to be using, again, the SilverSilk, the capture chain. I have some SilverSilk cord ends to work with that. I'll use a lobster clasp for closure when we get to that part of it. But then I also have some turquoise beading wire that I'm going to be stringing some of this on. And to make my focal, I'm going to use some 20 gauge craft wire for that. So let me get the focal made first. I'm just going to grab my craft wire, and I'm going to make myself a loop on one end that I'm going to attach my chain to after we do it. To make my loop, I'm going to be using some round nose pliers. I've also got some flush cutters for cutting my wire, and some chain nose pliers. When I actually start stringing on my beading wire, I'm going to be using some, where did they go? Actually, they were right here. Gotcha. Some 2x2 crimp tubes and my magical crimper. So I'm going to set those aside, get them ready for when it's time to do that. So what I'm going to want to do probably is go ahead and stack these guys onto my wire so that I know how much wire to cut off when I'm done. And I'm going to be using these like crystal rondelle things, these really large bead caps that came in the box, as well as this sequined bead. Those bead caps make a really nice addition to that. And I'm just putting these crystal rondelles on either end of those like that, so it actually kind of looks cooler. And then I'm going to pop this guy onto this as well. And let's go ahead and make a wrapped loop up here at the top. And then I'll make a simple loop on the bottom to attach my chain to. So about 2 inches from the top, I'm gonna bend it back and then bend it over toward me. And then rotate my pliers so that it crosses itself there. And since this is just going to get strung onto the beading wire, I don't have to worry about attaching it to anything before I wrap my loop. I'm just using my fingers to move this wire around it, around this stem, in order to wrap it. If you need to use pliers to move it, you could do that as well. This wire is soft enough, and I had enough leverage that I could do it with my fingers. Okay, so now these are all the beads that are going to make up my focal. Let's get them all pushed up against that bead. And I'm going to cut off about 2 fingers from the bottom. And then I'm going to hold this, bend this over at kind of a right angle. And about 1 centimeter away from that right angle, I'm going to clip off my excess wire. Get these beads back on there. And use the round nose pliers to roll that up into a loop. And there is a reason that I am going to do this as a simple loop, and that is so that I can attach my pieces of chain to it without having to have anything extra attached to it. All right, so for my chain, this will be for the chain react. Let me find the top. Actually, I'm going to start here at this end. I'm just going to take this little loop and take it off of this ring. There we go. And I think I want this one to be opened. Okay. I don't know if this link is a closed loop or one that I can swing open and close again. Nope, looks like it's something that I'm going to have to cut. That is okay. I just want to cut this loop. So now I have one dangle. And now I'm going to do that, but I'm going to go right here where this ball is instead. And I'm going to cut there. That way they'll be different lengths when they're dangling. See, different lengths. Right. And for this one, I'm going to go a little bit shorter, but I'm going to go ahead and leave this dangle underneath it. And that'll just make it so that the bead is dangling in a different part of the chain. Here. Yeah, right there. And let me do one more. This one's going to go about there. Yep. Perfect. See, this is one of those fun things that you can do with the chain react, is you can just kind of break it up into little sections of chain and then hook it onto things. So let's go ahead and swing this open like it is a jump ring. It's just the end of this curve here. And then I'll take these little holes in this chain and slide it onto that wire. And this will make kind of a chainy tassel. Just some dangles to dangle down from there. Add a little bit of fun and magic and sparkle to our necklace. Why are you so weird? Let's move you down here a little bit more. And this one is kind of sticking there, and I don't like that. So I'm just gonna try and get this guy to rotate a little bit easier. There we go. So it's just a little weird and awkward, and that's okay. Let's get our beading wire out. So once we make the focal, the rest of it should be pretty easy. That's one of the things about using the capture chain or the parelesque chain, the SilverSilk, is that it does a lot of the work for you. You just have to add a few beads to it, maybe a focal, and then connect the connectors, and you've got a really, really pretty necklace at the end of the day. So I'm working from the spool, and this is just turquoise colored soft flex wire. It's their medium wire. It is my favorite beading wire. I'm not gonna lie about that at all. I use it for so much. But I love because it does come in these different colors. You can pick something that goes with what you're making. And so this is going to be perfect for me to connect onto my connector over here. And that's these SilverSilk connectors. They connect onto the ball chain in the capture chain or the parelesque chain, and then you squeeze them shut. You don't need glue or anything. So I'm going to use this and connect one of these ends with a crimp bead. All right. And this is my favorite way of crimping too, is using the magical crimper. I don't know if you've seen it before. I did find when I used a different magical crimper, one that I had bought for my sister, that the one I bought her did not work for me, even though this one has worked for me and been a champ this whole time. So if you've tried it before and it didn't work for you, it might be the crimper. It might not be like anything that you're doing wrong or anything like that. It might be that the crimper wasn't created well, and if you have any like that, it might be worth returning it and seeing if you can get a different one to try it out, because it is honestly my favorite way of crimping. You take this crimp and you put it into this little concavity in here, and when you do that, it squishes just the corners of the crimp like a little ravioli, and then when you turn it at an angle, you have to make sure it's centered when you do this. You just get at it from a different angle and squeeze it again, and then turn it at a different angle and squeeze it again. And if you just keep going around and give it a squish, then it smushes all those corners flat and smooth, so then you have a little round crimp ball that's very secure, and you don't have to use a crimp cover on it. and it just works. You know, it's one of those things that, like, it just works. And that's what I'm saying. If you've tried this and it hasn't worked for you, it's probably not you. It's probably actually maybe a bad crimper. So I'm going to do the second one the same way. I'm going to attach that connector. And then we're going to attach the connector to the parelesque chain after we get that on there. Alright, and on the second one, I like to just use my fingernail a little bit to make a little bit of space between that bead and the crimp so that I can get the edge walls of the crimper between the crimp and that bead. And that just helps it to center it better. You don't have to worry about that so much on the first one. It's the second one, the one on the other end. You want to give yourself enough room to be able to go all the way around it. So there we go. Cut off my excess wire. All right. So I'm going to attach one end of my parelesque chain onto here. I'm just going to clean up, so you've got some of these sticky outy edges. I'm going to clean up the edges of this, the ends, so that when I put it inside the connector, it won't be poking out the sides. If the connector's not wide enough for you to comfortably like stick it like 2 balls deep in there, then you might need to widen it with your pliers. I don't need to do that for this one. And actually, you can do it with your chain nose pliers. I actually prefer closing these with my flat nose pliers because it just holds them better. So you just give it a good squeeze and it closes that shut like a duckbill. And then it's good and in there. I always give it a little tug. Sometimes it doesn't catch, and that's why I make sure I give it a tug to make sure it's secure. All right, now this is a long piece of parelesque chain. It would be an incredibly long necklace if I went ahead and left it like that. So I'm just going to check and see where I want this to hang from and put this around the back of my neck. And then cut it a little bit shorter because there's going to be connectors in the way. So about here. And again, we'll do the same thing, clean up these little extra bits of the SilverSilk. Because this is knitted wire, you're going to have little pieces of wire that will fall off when you do that. You can use your pliers to pull them off. You can use your fingers to knock them away. It's just a little pieces of fuzz that fall off from that. But it only happens when you're creating. It doesn't happen when you're wearing it. It's just, you know, fallout from the creation process. Here we go. So that one is open wide enough. Let's get this end in. All right, so those two ends are connected. Now I'm going to find the halfway point in this piece of my parelesque chain. Forgot to do my tug test. And that halfway point, I'm going to go ahead and do a snip in it. I could like measure them out beforehand. That's a perfectly acceptable way to do this, but I don't always measure things beforehand. And now I'm going to want each of these ends, after I clean out my little stray bits of SilverSilk, I'm going to want these in these connectors. For the other ends, because this is the end that I'll be attaching my closure to for some lobster clasps, or I could choose a different kind of clasp if I wanted to. Let me make sure those are facing the same way. Okay. There we go. Clamp them on there. All right. Now, these little bits of SilverSilk ware are super easy to clean up off your bead mat. Just grab like a bead scoop or something, and it picks them right up. Super easy to clean up. Where is my clasps though? I'm sorry, where are my clasps? I talk good. Alright, so this is just a clasp and some jump rings from my bead stash, well, from my findings stash, I should say. We're going to attach these to our necklace. There we go. This also will satisfy one of the challenges on the SilverSilk Diet Challenge, which is going on in the SilverSilk Facebook group. It was all this last week, but I didn't get around to all of the daily challenges. And so this is my mermaid-inspired design for that challenge. You can continue making stuff even after that week, by the way. The actual challenge doesn't close until I think it's the 27th, or it might be the 28th, something like that, sometime this week. So it's worth checking it out. If you missed it and you're like, oh, I missed my chance, you did not miss your chance. You can still be making a mermaid-inspired necklace or something like that. So that's this one, and I love it. And I'm going to make some earrings, and let me make one of the earrings with you, and then I'll make the second one on my own. And for this, I was going to be using, there it is, it got wrapped up in that. Let me just, don't know how long I want it to be, maybe about that long. Okay. I'm just gonna cut 2 lengths of this 3-needle chain. And this is just purely knitted wire. I'm gonna cut 2 of these lengths, maybe 3 actually. Yeah, let's do 3. And then we'll just do 2 of them. And then a couple that are about the same length of this other color. You see they're different colors, but I think they'll look great together. And I am just curious, I am not sure if those beads will fit on this or not. If they don't, it's totally fine. But if they do, I think it would be really good to have some of these beads kind of dangling at the bottoms of these chains. So I'm just gonna see if these beads will fit onto the 3-needle chain. And like I said, if they don't, it's fine. They don't need to, they do not. And so again, it's fine. It's just a little idea that I had, but what I have in mind is gonna work whether I use those beads or not. All right. Yikes. Alright, so I'm going to take one of each color, sort of match them up, find the middle, and then I'm just going to put a little bend right here in the middle of these guys. Just a little bit of a bend. And everything that I do with one, I'm going to do with the other. So I'm just going to do this with my second one while I still have it. And if you are curious about this bracelet that I'm wearing, when I did my unboxing of my latest SilverSilk haul, there was a kit in there to make this bracelet. The video for it did not have you braid it though. I did that a little bit different on my own. And I followed the instructions for the whole kit in the video that Nile did, but I just did a braid instead of leaving them flat and straight. And the only thing I did when I did that was I put some painter's tape around the end of it when I went to go slide it into the second one so that they would stay braided while I was getting them slid on. That's the only thing that I did different, was braid them and then use painter's tape to hold them together in the right order when I was doing that. All right, let's grab some 22 gauge wire, and I'm just gonna grab off about 4 inches. That'll do. All right, 2 inches down from the end. I'm gonna bend this over and use my round nose pliers, and I don't need a really big loop, so I'm going to be a little bit closer to the end, not all the way at the end, but maybe about 1/4 of the way down. I'm just going to bring this loop all the way around, but I'm going to put these two guys into that loop. That I just created. So they're just hanging down in there. Now I'm gonna close that up. Again, I don't want a really, really wide loop. It's okay. I'm going to go around once there, and then I'm just gonna kind of pull this wire down around this to kind of pin it into place. Can you guys see that? I brought the wire down and just wrapped it around this. You're not going to see this on the earrings, so it doesn't need to be neat and tidy, but I am just going to bend this little end of my wire back towards the rest of this. There we go. That way it's holding it in there. And when I put it inside of this, these guys will stay in there the whole time. Now the reason I don't have like a ton of the 3 needle chain coming down from there is because I want this to be like a jellyfish. And jellyfish, I don't know if you've ever seen a jellyfish before or not, but usually for most jellyfish, the species, like there's some that are different. some of the jellyfish species are super different and they don't have this, but most of them, the majority of them, will have 4 main tentacles that come down the center of the body, and then they'll have off of their umbrella like smaller tentacles and that sort of thing. So these are my 4 main jellyfish tentacles that we're doing there. And I'm just gonna make a wrapped loop up here at the top by bending over the top of my pliers and then bringing that around, shifting my round nose pliers and then bringing it so that it crosses over. And then I can bring this down and wrap all the way around until I get to the bead. And once that is wrapped and happy, I can clip this. And this was another one of the challenge designs, was to make something beachy using 3 needle chain. And while you don't want to see a jellyfish on the beach or have one land on you while you're swimming, it is pretty beachy. So that's my little jellyfish guy, and I'll make a second one off camera, but these are 2 of the projects that I had planned for this Jessie James Beads Magical Mystery Bead Box. So I'm glad that I'm taking the time to do that. And now that I've at least done 2 of my projects, I feel a lot better about opening up the new one that I just got. So stay tuned. I will be making that one public and live after the official Jessie James Beads unboxing. I believe they're doing it tomorrow. So look for that on the Jessie James Beads channel, and then I'll have my own unboxing and you can watch me sort that one. I hope y'all are having a fantastic week, and I will talk with you later. Happy beading.